This is Daniel Raymond, the voice behind Ray's Guide. Well, the details about how Medgel will work and cost lasted less than a week. And the top line is that respawns are cheaper and healing a whole lot more cheaper. A canister of Medgel still costs the same, but holds twice as much, 200 units rather than 100. Thus, a medship regen costs 50,000 UEC, which is still way above the 15,000 that would cost to set a medical rescue beacon, but regenerating in a hospital presumably will still be free. There has to be some sort of free option, or a broke player would be permanently frozen out of the game. 50,000 is a lot compared to the profit on most low-level missions. Actually, even 15,000 is a lot. So in general, I expect the general gameplay outside of Arena Commander is going to be more cautious and have teams having a member tasked with the rescue and reviving. At least they will if they want to have any profits left at the end. Now, in keeping with the canisters containing twice as many units, the beds also can hold twice as many units. This means that a Tier 3 med bed can hold 200 units instead of 100, although there's still just one canister's worth. Tier 2 beds can hold 400 units instead of two-handed, in both cases 2 canisters worth, and Tier 1 beds can hold 600 units instead of 400. Although that might be a typo in the post. Anyhow, they have reduced the cost of healing substantially. Healing the least severe category of injuries, Tier 3, uses 5 Medgel, costing 2,500 credits, even if you have multiple of them. Healing the next higher severity of injuries, Tier 2, uses 10 Medgel, costing 5,000 credits. This will cover multiple Tier 2 injuries at once, and I'm also presuming any Tier 3 injuries at the same time. Then the worst Tier 1 injuries cost 20 Medgels and costing 50,000. Again, presuming that the one cost would cover all Tier 1 injuries and any lesser ones. Now, apparently for simplicity reasons, CIG has decided to either have Medgel canisters be full or empty. If the bed has less than 200 units of empty capacity, putting in a canister empties the canister and any excess is wasted. This is particularly the case with the Tier 3 med beds, which only have the capacity of one canister even if empty. So, consider the scenario. We have a fully stocked Tier 3 bed. Someone heals a Tier 3 injury, the only one it can, for 5 Medgel, and then someone else regenerates in it. Now the Tier 3 med bed has only 95 Medgel, 5 short of what it needs to do a regen. Now, you want your med bed to still be able to do regen, so of course you have to slap a new canister and 95 units of Medgel apparently spill invisibly on the floor, and that one Tier 3 healing has cost you an extra 45,000 credits in wasted Medgel. Now, the obvious solution to this would be to make the storage capacity of the Tier 3 med bed 100 larger. But there is another implication, and that is that there's a reason to have 2 med beds on a ship like the Cutlass Red, and that is that you use one for healing and the other for regeneration. So, for example, I had that Cutlass Red. I could always say use the right side for healing. The left side bed would then go down in nice even hundreds doing the regeneration until it was empty and then refilled with no waste. And if the right side bed goes under 100, it still is not a problem because the regenerations would be happening on the left side. Which brings up an interesting item for discussion. What will they become available in possibly just a few hours at most is the best way to configure your Apollo. And it would seem to me that under the rules right now, who knows how they will change further, the best way to configure an Apollo is with one Tier 1 bed on one side and 2 Tier 2 beds on the other. As an operational rule, then, you would do all of your healing on the Tier 1 bed. Why? Because first of all, the Tier 1 bed is the only one that can meet all of your needs for healing, no matter how severe your injuries are. There is no Medgel penalty for using a better bed than the minimum, and there is plenty of capacity so that you have a wide window of opportunity to refill without waste. And the Tier 2 beds on the other side can perform up to 8 regens without having to reload. And even if people screw up in regen or heal on the wrong side, nothing has to be wasted. Or as my grandma said, or would said if she played Star Citizen, a Medgel saved is a Medgel earned. Continuing with the subject of these now cheaper healings, are they cheap enough to now that people responding to a medical rescue beacon will, in addition to reviving you, also heal your injuries in their medbed? Well, only if they're generous. Nothing is requiring them to heal you, only to revive you. And that can be done with just a med pen or a med gun. Nothing is requiring them to have a med bed at all in order to respond to medical rescue beacons. The only real purpose to have a med ship is as a support vessel in your own team's ground battles, unless in the future they implement injuries during ship battles. Now, this brings up an interesting question. Is there going to be enough for an independent rescue operator or org to keep them busy? Well, there is medical rescue beacons, you might say, but as I pointed out, there's nothing requiring medical beacon responders to have a med ship. But beyond that, there's the impacts of this new system changing tactics, and people adapt to having more careful tactics in supporting each other within their own team or with hospital regeneration because it's free. Needing a medical rescue beacon will be the result of poor planning and poor playing. So as players get better, the number of medical rescue beacons will decline. So what fills in for the medical rescue players if there is a shortage of poorly planning, careless players with surplus wealth being incapacitated nearby? For comparison, what fills in for scavengers if there aren't enough player-generated wrecks? Well, the game creates scraps and wrecks and missions to recover them. So the game is going to need PvE medship rescue content, ideally content that requires a medship rather than just a medgun, and ideally that really has the vibe of being an emergency search and rescue team, a reason to be going in with maximum urgency, lights flashing and shouting, wee you, all that. A lot of scenarios come to mind. Passenger ships that have accidents or been attacked, which we already have the assets for, such as the 890 jump mission. Shipwrecks on the ground, which we already have some assets for. Villages that have had terrorist bombings or had a surprise Valakar attack. And again, no new assets needed. There are incapacitated characters all over the place with injuries. You get paid for each victim of the many you rescue, but you must tractor them to a medbed and treat their injuries for it to count. And each one of the incapacitated NPCs are on a timer. If you don't get to them fast enough, their Tier 3 injuries become Tier 2 injuries, and their Tier 2 injuries will become Tier 1, and then a semi-death state that would require a full regen's worth of Medgel to revive. This means that if you don't get there soon enough, your net profits will be less because you are spending more on Medgel, and in some cases the injuries will have advanced beyond your ability to treat them. Anyhow, I think it would make a great category of mission types, and it would make it possible for more than one player to accept the same mission since there will be more than enough victims for more than one ship to keep them busy. The only missing detail is what those NPCs do after you heal them. Do they just stand around for you to deliver them somewhere, or do they leave to somehow go off somewhere on their own? But as you say, that's in the details. So now some details on my channel events. 4.3.1 going to live is the deadline for the video editing contest, so real soon on that. And then in exactly a month, the Los Angeles area Sizzling Con Direct Watch Party and Bar Citizen at Supply and Demand in Long Beach. There will be contests, camaraderie, and plenty of prizes, including ship giveaways. Single and group discount tickets are still available, but at the end of the month, they will go to the last-minute pricing. Then we have our Grow the Channel Shape giveaway for the winner's choice of either the Arasta or Merchantman, and then the IAE Week giveaway for the Starlancer Max. 1 entry per video for those contests. Be a member for automatic entry. Otherwise, subscribe and comment, somehow including the secret word. And the secret word for this video is what my grandma would have said. Fly safe, keep it real, and I'll see you in the verse. This is Daniel Raymond with Ray's Guide.